Good afternoon, ma'am, and good afternoon, as today's speaker. And Mrs. Murugavel was completed our UG from PSG College of Nursing of 2000 to 2004 batch, and thereby ma'am worked in JSS Mysore and continued her career as in PIMS as staff nurse. And then ma'am did her master's in mental health nursing in University of West Scotland, and currently ma'am is working in as a community psychiatric nurse as a part of community mental health team Scotland. We are happy to have you as a speaker, ma'am. The session is open to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Hello all. I'm more than happy to come here and present myself, to proudly say that I was once in your shoes and very anxious of don't know what I'm going to do after the fourth year. But what PSG has done is immensely helped throughout my career. Can you all hear me? Because I don't see anybody, any one of you. I don't know if you can see
Yes,
or
ma'am. Sure,
hear me
ma'am.
clearly.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So as a matter of fact, the last 15 minutes, I've left it for you to ask me any questions, whether it is regarding to community nursing or whether it is regarding your career. Apart from being a community nurse, I was a forensic nurse. I worked in prison for a year. So that's a new school of thought. It's a new faculty in nursing. If you are interested, I'm more than happy to discuss about that as well. And there are roles like nurse advocates, nurse consultant, advanced nurse practitioners. So if you are thinking about I want to be a nurse, but I want to do something different from the role that we usually see, I'm more than happy to answer all your questions. I will share the slide. Apart from the slide, I've got very good materials on community health nursing, which in a later date I will share to Purnima ma'am. But before we start anything, I'm greatly honored and humbled, and I'm really thankful to Dr. Jayasudha ma'am bringing the alumni, recognizing what the college has produced and nurtured in us. And Madam Purnima for giving me this opportunity. She has been day in and night, the timing difference, she has been communicating me. She has been amazing, maintaining that communication and rapport going on. So thank you so much for that. Now coming to community nursing, I'm going to give a survey. Let's start with a small quiz. It's not any mind game. It's not very difficult. So, but I would like you to answer this question, which will form the basis of what I'm going to say today. Let's see if it's opening. Technology is good when it works. Okay, it's going on. Right. Okay, my first question is, are community nurses a standalone profession from your understanding? Or what do you think? Do you think community nursing is a standalone profession? Like if you say a medical surgical nursing, you know what they are, you know the description of their role. If you call somebody as a psychiatric nurse, a mental health nurse, you know their description. But what is according to you a description for a community mental health nurse?
According to me, the community mental health nurse is the prevention of the mental illness. We need to go and as a vigilance and provide counseling if they are having any issues in the emotional level, social level, or occupational level. We can find out the stressors and provide education and bring the well-being of the mental health. Ma'am.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Sorry, I didn't get your name because I'm sharing the same screen for both the Zoom and the PowerPoint. Fantastic. But I just looked for a very simple. You have covered everything that community nurses. That's right. But let me give all the other students the opportunity as well. What, according to you, if I ask you one sentence about community nurse, what do you
It's
think it
all
is?
about it's all about disease prevention, ma'am.
Okay,
Preventing it.
you're all about disease prevention. Fantastic. What else?
Promotion of health and well-being of the community people.
Yeah, okay. So we are more concerned about the well-being of the community people. What else?
In community, we will take the surveys and we will find out the congenital abnormalities in the children, and we will find out the malnourished child. If we find out the malnourished child, we will give appropriate guidelines to them to improve the health status of their children, because children are the future generations.
Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, so what you're saying translates to, we as a community nurse are research based, we are evidence based, we collect information, we accumulate information, and then we make inferences from what we have gathered. What else?
To decrease fatality rate.
Yeah, so you're not only you're not only treating the person, like, see, when it is a hospital based nursing, or the previous medical model that the nursing was following earlier was like, if somebody comes to you with a disease, you treat the disease. But whereas our nursing has moved way far from that medical model. So we are now thinking about, how can I prevent this? What's happening? You're starting to ask that more scientific questions, and you're more your attention to the community is broadened. The scope of your nursing has broadened to the community. That's fantastic. What else? Maybe I'll put the question this way. What is that? What is it? What are the specific things that's totally different from working from the hospital and in the community?
Community health nurse, in community we will just look into the cause. What can cause the disease? Not only treating, not only preventing, what is the exact cause? We are removing the causative factor.
Okay. You're all. I think the way I put the question, you're all thinking on the perspective of on the view of the disease. You're seeing and the treatment based. I'm asking, if I bring a hospital based nurse, say an ICU nurse today, and if I bring a community nurse, what would be one thing they'll say? This is what I do in my role, and this is totally different from what she does in her role.
In hospital, we are treating a single person as an individual. But in community, we are treating the family, whole family. We are taking care, ma'am.
Yeah. So the thing is, what you're doing here as a community nurse, what I have been doing here as a community nurse is, I'm not only focused on my patient is a priority. I am a person-centered, patient-centered, patient-oriented nurse. However, I see everything that builds that patient's nature, everything that comes into all the demographic factors, all the biographical factors, all that will influence the health of the patient. It's not just patient alone. It is not specific to patient alone. Another thing, if you notice, Community nurse should be an up-to-date nurse on what's happening in the world. Like I should know, okay, this is a new policy that WHO has brought in. This is an educational policy that Indian government has brought in. This is a disease prevention policy that my local Coimbatore Council has brought in. So I should know everything that's happening in the community. Whereas if you see the hospital nurses, I'm not saying they will not know, but what will happen is they will be aware of their organizational policy. Suppose you go work in PSG, you will be given induction period. Within the induction period, you will be taught what are the policies, what are the expectations, what are the role, role criteria that you should follow. And apart from that, there will be other things like infection control policy and disease prevention policy, and so on and so forth. But it's only the community nurses that you are made aware of all the other policies. One major example, I now work among people who are diagnosed with dementia, an older generation in their community. So in their community, as you know, older people are very, very, very vulnerable to people exploiting them. Their own family members could exploit them financially. Their own distant relation can exploit their vulnerability. So there is a policy called adult support protection policy. Then there is adult incapacity policy. So I should be aware of these policies, and I know exactly when I see the patient and I know if they're suffering, I will know the legal aspect, the ethical aspects, or the ethical direction I should take. Now that keeps the community nurses more defined. Our role is more, although you work alone, you also have to have this broadened knowledge of what's happening around you. What resources are available for those people that you care for. You go to a family, you see a mother, she's pregnant, but she has a 3-year-old kid, and her pregnancy is very, very difficult, and you know that she's not managing. Then you think about, how is the 3-year-old being cared for? Is the child getting all that she needs to get? Is the child being cared for? Or what are the other resources that is available, so that this 3-year-old child, although the mother is your patient, you're now thinking about the child, you're thinking about the resources that's available. Okay, so that's about the community nursing in a nutshell. Like, it's very interesting. Further along the line, I'll come up with all the interesting incidents that has happened to me over this practice, and I hope I'll keep you interested, because approaches is a very dry subject, but I'll keep you interested. Okay, now if you know how you carry your community bag. Do you have you done the community bag principles of handling the bag and all that?
Ma'am, we have.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what is your thoughts about the bag? What does that, when you see the bag, what does that make you think?
The one bag we will carry all the things which will help in community based. We will performing procedures and so on, ma'am.
It's a multi-purpose bag, yeah? Do you think that one bag is sufficient?
No, ma'am, not at all.
No,
What
ma'am.
else do you think is necessary?
We'll carry weighing machines and BP apparatus, all things
Oh, ma'am.
with us, because with that single bag we can't meet every needs of the people.
Okay, that's good. What else?
In
Anybody else?
community, we can also, instead of taking bags, we can use a mobile, like a mobile team, which will have all the equipments, all the medication, which will cover the total of that particular area, ma'am.
That's good. Anybody else? I'm going to throughout this webinar, I'm going to ask more questions like this, and it's you don't have to think a lot. So just to keep it interacting. So what else do you think about the bag?
It should have it should have a set of procedure, or it should contain all the essential articles.
Right. Okay. What if I tell you that bag is infinite? If you start keeping things that you need in the community, that bag won't be enough. You know, it's infinite. Like, how do you know? How can you be prepared for what is going to be there in the community? How can you foresee the expectations that's there in the community? Like, we didn't see that COVID is coming. We didn't know COVID was coming. So like maybe you had a pair of gloves, maybe you had a PPE stuff, but did you have a mask? Did you have a goggle, or did you have like aerospace mask? No, like, so apart from the bag, you should also have another tool called the toolkit of resources. Like, you should be aware of like what happens if I'm attacked in the community. What is the policy and the procedure? What happens when I see an abusing husband, a husband who's abusing my patient? So what is the route that I should take? What if I see a child that's growing in a very notorious kind of a very drug implanted community? What should I do for? So this means that as community nurses, you have to always, you know, go out for looking. I have at one instance, what happened is, one of my patient who was addicted to diazepam and as well as other drugs. There are so many drugs. She was taking cocktail of drugs to keep it going. So there was one incident. What happened? She left her cabinet open, and her 5-year-old child accidentally thought it was a sweetie, and she took the diazepam. Fortunately, the child was saved. But however, now this cascaded loads of things that has to happen. So we thought about the protection of the child. We thought about, is the mother capable of being in the home alone? Does she need to be, you know, under the supervision? Does she need to go through rehabilitation? So who does the child have? Does the child have a father? So can you see, like, you cannot stop with what you have in the community nursing. Okay, without further ado, I'll keep moving to the next slide. Right. Now, who we are, like I said, like we are called by different names. The name district nurses was initially formulated by Florence Nightingale. I've got a very nice material which I'll forward to you, the history of how the district nurses came forward. Florence Nightingale, she was more focused on not just the patient, but the environment around the patient. As you know, she modified the structure where the patients were kept. She was more keen on the cleanliness. Everything needs to be cleaned. That is what we are following even now. We are more focused on hand washing. All that came from what Florence Nightingale started. Okay, so Florence Nightingale says, never think that you have done anything effectual in nursing till you nurse not only the sick in the workhouses, that means in the hospital, but those at home. So what she says is, our nursing career doesn't stop within that four walls of the hospital. She says, to know that nursing has been very, very effective, you have to care for those at home. And she said that in 1867, and that's something has piqued the interest of the policies, the strategies, the government, laws, and the way the government view their health has changed because of based on what she said. Now these days in UK especially, the main aim of community nursing is to keep them as much as possible to the utmost, care given in their own home, which means that you're not using hospital resources unless necessary. You don't have to rip yourself out of your home, get yourself admitted, which changes the dynamics of the family. Especially like here, it's a social service based hospital. Like we don't pay for our health service, but in India, I always wondered if somebody has a heart attack, okay, a poor farmer has had a heart attack. Now, can you think of the scenario? What will happen? The wife has to think about bringing the husband to the hospital first thing, then admitting him will be the second thing, and going and arranging the money will be the third thing. What will happen to the children will be the fourth thing. And you see, like, she will be split. She'll be, more than the husband who's admitted in the hospital, the wife or the children or the family will be distraught. They will be exhausted. They will be completely, broken down. So now the idea is the transition to community care, where it is possible. You are aiming to keep the patient in their own home environment, in their own comfort, and yet giving the best possible care. So at times you will have to be their nurse advocate. At times you will have to be their nurse counselor. You have to say them, this is, you cannot make decisions for the patient, but you can always direct them to the best decision. So at times you will have to give them the options of, I have this available and also that available. Okay. So the community nursing essentially means that you are one nurse with so many faculties in you. If a patient needs an injection, you cannot. Here in India, we are fortunate that we study mental health nursing, OBG, medical surgical, all in that 4 years. But whereas in UK, if you see, the BSc nursing is more specialized. They either take the mental health route or the adult route, which is like the general nursing route. So if a general nursing goes and meets a patient in the community and she sees the patient is depressed, the patient is unwell, the patient is like saying things like, oh, I see people in my home, I hear voices in my home, I see deadbeat people falling in my floor, that general nurse, district nurse will do nothing. All she will do is like she will direct the patient to us, the community mental health nurses. Whereas you in India are very, very fortunate that you have all round holistic, you can take a holistic approach. So you can care for both mental, physical, social, and psychological well-being of the patient, which is essentially the definition of health itself. So we are called district nurses. We are called health nurses. It was again Nightingale who formulated this definition called health nurses. We are also called public health nurses, which I'll explain later, and village nurses. Believe it or not, in UK, the place where I work, I am a village nurse because I work in outskirts of Glasgow, which is a small village. So I can call myself a village nurse too. And there is a difference between a community-based nurse and community-oriented nurse. Can anyone tell me the difference? What do you think is a community-based nurse and community-oriented nurse? Or even if you can give me an example.
In community-based nurse, they will approach the family directly and give care. In community-oriented nurse, they will provide some advices and they will tell about the acts that are very helpful to the community members.
Yeah.
Oriented nurses may be helping with them in the practices or during procedures, and community-based nurse, they will be looking into their needs of the community and their family.
Community orientedness, they will give like superficial things, but the basedness will be practiced like evidence based practice in the.
Okay, okay, okay. Anybody else? You can come up with anything. There's no wrong answer. Okay. Now, a community based, let's take COVID. A community based nurse, say, suppose somebody complains that I have been breathless. I've not had a sense of smell and taste, but I'm feeling slightly dizzy and nauseated. So, if a community nurse takes her kit, goes and checks the saturation of the patient and says, oh, maybe this person actually needs a ventilator or this person needs oxygen now, and admits him to the hospital. Now that's a community based nurse. Your focus is on the health of the patient. However, with the COVID, if the nurses then approaches the community and sees, okay, how is the prevalence? What's the COVID prevalence in my community? What are the where are the immunization hubs in my community? Where should I direct my patients if they need to get their COVID tested? So everything, the health promotion of the whole community is called community orientedness. Did you understand my example, the difference?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you're focused on the patient and individual in the community, it's community-based nurse. If you're oriented, you orient all your care. Like suppose you go, for example, what happened is in last six months, due to the lockdown, I started getting loads of patients with the diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder, severe anxiety disorder, everything to do with anxiety disorder. So what I did is, like, I thought, like, rather than focusing on the patients individually, I went and did a course on cognitive behavioral therapy for people with anxiety disorders. Now what I have done is also community based, as well as I've taken a community oriented approach. So what I did, I knew that my patients, the number of patients that coming to me were the increasing diagnosis of anxiety, so that I immediately sought out to a resource where I can provide everybody the care, and those who are going to come after me. And then what I did, after I did the CBT therapy, I went and trained my colleagues, my team of members, there are 13 people. So I went forward to my team leader and said, I think every one of us are getting patients with anxiety. Why don't I train all the staffs on the CBT? Okay, so this is an approach that you take on a community oriented basis. Okay, so I have already talked to you about the history of the nursing. Then as you know, I told about where the health nurses came into being. I was within the quiz, I was going to ask a question, an interesting question, and that will be the answer for the interesting question. Do you think as a community nurse you have to cook and clean?
Maybe at certain times we have to,
Okay.
because when we have a as you said, like when we have a dementia patient, or when we have a patient whom he can't do anything with his own abilities, or he may be self-care deficit, at times we have to help him in needs of in helping with his basic needs.
That's good. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Thank you, Aditya. I want somebody who hasn't answered. It's a simple question. As a community nurse, do you think you have to cook and clean?
Of course, ma'am, because if there is some kind of deficiency in adults also or in children's also, whether the caregiver doesn't know how to provide some kind of nutrition, proper nutrition to the patient, we need to the client, we need to give them a proper diet. So we need to cook them. If the surrounding is not very is very poor, if it is
Mhm.
if it is very dirty, we need to clean, because it will transmit the disease, or bring new kind of disease conditions. So we need to keep our community healthy and uh, cleanly.
Okay. Now, okay. So now these things, are you doing out of your goodwill, out of your conscience, or is it within the policy?
It's in the goodwill, ma'am.
So
All
if it is in the goodwill, where
businesses
will
are,
it
it have
stop?
a policy, ma'am.
Do you have a
No, ma'am.
policy?
Yes, ma'am. We should not only like basic set of rules, not like we should do, we have to do, not like that. But in order to promote his wellness or well-being, we must have to do something that is beneficial for the patient or beneficial for the
So
client.
you're saying once again what you're describing is a goodwill, isn't it? It's not like sticking always to the policy, but goodwill. Policy is something you follow it word by word. You don't waver from it. Like if the hospital has a policy of you can only come in if you are COVID negative, you can't say but my father there has not seen me for ages and he's crying, so for his mental health I'm going to go. And you can't say that. Policy is something is very stipulated. It's very stipulated and you can't waver from that. But what you are describing to me is goodwill, isn't it? But however, I don't know, have you started going for your community placements? Have you started doing your food preparations? Have you did your NSS, going and cleaning a community?
Yes, ma'am. We have
Uh,
done, ma'am.
I
We
can
have
still
done our.
remember I did Kira Vada, which went, oh my God, I couldn't even put that in my mouth. And so I didn't serve it to my patient. However, that was nutritious. That's what I said. So I still remember I did as a fourth year student doing Kira Vada. That's the first cooking I ever did. And we as a NSS batch, we went and we cleaned a school that was used as a toilet. A school that children weren't able to study. We cleaned the school that was used as a toilet, and then we conducted a camp, health camp. Now that was part of the curriculum, so we did it. So again, we were sticking to the policy, the strategy, the curriculum of the nursing education. So we went and did it. But however, most of the times as a CPN, I have to draw that line. I have been in a situation where currently I have one of my patients who has a long-standing psychotic features. Psychotic features is she believes that her neighbors are stealing her electricity. So, and she's a hoarder, so she hoards everything in her house. There is no space to move at all. And as a CPN, every time I go and visit her home, out of goodwill, I am so very tempted to clean the house for her. And that's what our parents are brought up with, isn't it? When you see your elders struggle, you go and help them. So I have many a times had to control myself, pull myself back into the role of a CPN and not do that. What will happen is if I had done that, what could have happened is I might have cleaned her house, but because she is overly psychotic, she would have complained against me saying, Vinu stole my necklace. And how am I going to prove that I did not? You got it? Sometimes we can take that extra mile. I have taken extra mile driving my patients to post office because there was nobody. I have taken that extra mile where during Christmas we buy gifts for the patient, and if they don't have any family members to wish them Christmas, I have like bought gifts, but with the knowledge of my team leader. It was always you have to be very, very careful. You are alone working, you work alone when you're out in the community. So once again, although as you said that out of goodwill you sometimes have to do certain things, check that if it is right, will it be acceptable, will it be within the policy, or will it be at least agreeable by the team leader? Because end of the day, any legal obligation, ethical issues arise from that, they will have to protect you. Like I said, the same patient, one of my colleagues came to visit that patient, and she saw outdated prescriptions lying in her house, and she saw outdated paracetamol tablets, like loads and loads and boxes of paracetamol tablets. With the patient's consent, she took the tablets and she gave for destruction to the Boots pharmacy. However, the next day the patient raised a complaint saying that it's my property, how can she take the medication away? So as well as you are good-willed, as well as you want to do good things for your patient, always remember that cooking and cleaning and other aspects should always fall within the agreeable policy, agreeable standard of your own team leaders, managers, or whoever is above your line. Always follow, get your guidance. If you find something is not right, go and get guidance from your hierarchical people. Okay. So I've put a WHO paper which describes about the community health nursing. Based on that, community health nursing is a population focused, like I said, community oriented, community-based approach aimed at health promotion of entire population, prevention of disease, disability, and premature death in the population, which you all covered, which encourages me. You know what you're doing when you are a community health nurse. You're all very, very, well aware of what a role of community nurse must be. So I congratulate you on that, because sometimes you go into the community and you don't know what you're doing. Now let's jump into some of the theories that base the community health nursing. Behind the screen, these are the nurse theorists who brought all these theories into the practice that we are following today. I'm not going to go ahead and describe every single theory. I've cherry picked just 2 theories, so that but I've left all these. If you're interested, you can go and just Google it, and you will know what is the basis of each theory. And if you notice, every single nurse theory came from a nurse standing back and saying, not just following instructions. It's not like you go in the morning and start taking everybody's temperatures, start making everybody's bed, start taking everybody's blood, and then giving all the personal hygiene care. No, one nurse stood back and said, what am I doing? Is it evidential? Is it beneficial? Is it long standing? Can it sustain through the evidence based practice? And because she asked that question, we are in a state where we have become nurse consultants. We are more than just followers, or we are more than the handmaidens of the doctors per se. So one of that theory is the conceptual framework of Florence Nightingale's environmental theory. Now, you know this, like I described, what Florence Nightingale said was the act of utilizing the environment of the patient to assist him in his recovery. So what she did is, rather than focusing on the patient, she started to take his environment and modify the aspects of the environment to focus the aspects of his environment to change not only today, but the future of the patient's health and the recovery as well. Can you think of one example? In India, what would be one aspect as a nurse you would have changed based on this theory?
Ma'am,
Treating regularly.
Sorry? Can you please go again? There was a... Okay, let me give you
Ma'am, maintaining our indemnity.
Sorry, Pa.
Ma'am, maintaining our environment very clean.
Yeah. That's the basis. But if I'm asking you an example, can you think of one community practice in pertaining to this Nightingale's environmental theory?
Ma'am,
Okay.
By
Yeah.
keeping a breeding-free site of mosquitoes, we can prevent the vector-borne diseases.
Yeah,
Like that, ma'am.
good. Okay, let me say this one. A patient comes to you, okay, and you are an addiction nurse today. You're a community addiction nurse, okay, and you see an alcoholic. He's dependent on alcohol, and you can see that he's missing his job. He's losing his only home he has left. And his family is going to leave him because of his alcoholic behavior, so what will you do if you are treating him as an addiction, just alone as an addiction nurse? How will be your treatment? And if you're treating him on the environmental theory, what would be your treatment? What would be your plan of care? What would you include in your assessment if he comes to you today, like you have a patient with alcohol addiction? What will be the basis of your assessment?
From what is his basement, right? Which job he is doing currently, job is he's doing, and what is the monthly income he's getting from that, and what specific amount is spending for alcoholism, and then as a whole what mainly affects him when he is not taking the alcohol, and how his family is viewing him now, whether they are able to support him to come out of it, or they are making him to fall into that into more deep, or affecting him mentally more deeply, and maybe what he thinks himself now, as a not only focusing him on addiction, but as an looking into environment, we'll be asking such kind of questions to him to know that whether he is aware or not.
Yeah. Okay. So this is again from my experience. This is what has happened in my experience during one of the practices. She's not my patient, I'm because you have to protect the patient information security. I'm not going to go into any details, but this patient was abused by her dad, her grandfather, and then she thought she has married a good man, and then he turned out to be an abuser. Now the girl has a child, and this abuser keeps her on drug, sedated all the time, most of the time, to take pornographic videos. As a student, as a addictions placement, I was on an addiction placement, and I was so disturbed by the scenario. And what my mentor said is, she's only as good as alive as she comes through this door. So sometimes you think that you treat this patient by taking away their addiction behavior, but the matter of fact, if I have treated her addiction behavior, all her suppressed pain, all her suppressed anger, all her, all the torture, the traumatic lifestyles will come to surface. So actually, in a fact that her addiction behavior was keeping her going just for the sake of the child. Now, if I have to change anything, and because she wanted to come out of that life, she engaged with our service, and she wanted to get treatment, she wanted to get better. But because she did that, the husband put a tag, a 3,000 pound tag for her head. Anybody who kills her will get 3,000 pounds, just 3,000 pounds to kill her, right? Because there were so many secrets to come out through her. Now, as a nurse, what would I do? Is my focus on treating her addiction behavior, or will my focus will be to contact the social service to ensure that she will get protection. She will sometimes, what we do here is we change the people's identity, we change their social security numbers and everything, and give them totally a fresh lifestyle, like starting from zero. Will the social service be able to provide that for her? What will happen to the child? Will the child need to go for a foster care, or will the child is safer with her mother and taking both the mother and the child out? Now, should we move them from this community to a totally different area? Did you see? This is not this is not what you would expect as a community nurse. But with Nightingale's environmental theory, what we are doing is you're trying to modify the environment so that whatever care you're going to then provide for the patient will be effective on a long-term basis. As you know, every time we make goal setting, we make a short-term goal as well as a long-term goal. So our goal will be to see that, will I if I just go ahead and give her if I rehabilitate her out of her addiction, is it going to help her? Because she's going to go back into the same environment. Nothing is going to change. She's going to go back to the same behavior. What we call in UK is as a revolving door. Addiction patients, they get well, and they go back to the community, and they come back through the same door. So it's like a never-ending process. People who are put on methadone, that methadone was initially initiated to take addictions out of them and slowly wean them out of addiction, but they become addicted to methadone. So the process was like a revolving door. So then the nursing view started changing. Okay, before I do anything for the patient, let me see what is his nature of job. Who is the one protective factor? If your patient becomes suicidal, before focusing on the patient, what you will do as a community nurse is you will start looking into the protective factors in the community. Okay, he goes to his pharmacy every day, so the pharmacist has an eye on him. Okay, he gets a cleaner who comes twice a week. Okay, the cleaner is a protective factor. Oh, he has got a distant relative who phones him like once in 3 days. So she is a protective factor. There is a neighbor who does his shopping every day. So the neighbor is a protective factor. Now you will bring all this into your play. However, within the hospital, it's very hard to do. So that's how we still, as a community nurse, we still work with the Nightingale's environmental theory. It's not just keeping the environment clean. It's not just, that is all there. I'm not saying no, it's not just, like modifying cleanliness and the health of the house, the bedding, the light, not just that. Not just that, there are other factors that is based on this environmental theory. Every time you treat a patient in the community, you always see that, will this treatment sustain long term? You don't want to be their community nurse for the rest of their life. When same as the hospital patients, during the admission, you plan their discharge as well. You will always plan, this is my expected outcome, and once I reach the expected outcome, I will have to discharge them, because it's very difficult to be part with your patients who have mental illnesses. They get clingy to you, they get dependent on you. So you always have to have that nurse-patient boundary. That's why I asked, do you go ahead and clean everybody's house? We sometimes have done it, but we have to always fall within that line. Do you understand what is nursing, Florence Nightingale's environmental theory now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, just another one theory, and we'll go ahead, because this is again very, very important as a community nurse. Oram. Oram was the lady, if you see in this picture, I don't know if you can see her clearly. That's Dorothea Oram. Okay, so she came with that theory. Now, did you notice that all the nurse theorists are female?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you feel encouraged? Is there any boys in your course? We had 3.
Yes, ma'am. We have
Yes, ma'am.
14
We have
boys.
14, ma'am.
Oh, apologies, boys. You can be theorists too, but most of them are female. Okay. Orum's theory is comprised of three related parts, that is theory of self-care, theory of self-care deficit, and theory of nursing system. See, when you hear that, it's very, very confusing, but it's very, very simple. Now, you go into a community, there is a pregnant mother who's 9 months pregnant, okay? She's full term. She could deliver at any time, okay? And then she's struggling to walk, the usual difficulties of the mother that she will have. Now, as she is speaking to you, she has dropped a towel to the floor. Would you go and pick up the towel and give it to her, or would you let her do it?
Ma'am?
So say, for example, you are my community nurse, you're coming to my home, okay? And I'm full-term pregnant. But as I was speaking to you, I dropped some important papers on the floor, okay? Will you pick those papers for me, or will you let me to pick those papers?
Probably we will help for pick the papers, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We will
Okay.
help for pick the papers, ma'am.
And also we'll
Fantastic.
teach, ma'am. We'll teach how to, if we having, we'll ask her to bend the knees, and then we'll teach the body mechanism, ma'am.
The
Because
proper
all the
body
time,
mechanism we will teach them, ma'am.
I
all
want more
the
answers here. I want more answers here. What will you do? She dropped the paper. What will you do? Just a scenario. Think about and let me tell me. What about others? What do you think? நீங்க என்ன பண்ணுவீங்க? ஒரு பேப்பரை கீழே போட்டுட்டாங்க, pregnant mother. நீங்க என்ன
We will
பண்ணுவீங்க?
help, ma'am. We will take the paper and give it to them. Because she
Is
is
it the
a
same person
full-term,
answering?
right?
I want answers from other people. I know I am one of these people who put myself in mute, so I'm not forcing you to come out, but this is something that has to make you think, right? So adnala neenga face kamika venda, so just give me your answer.
Suppose if we want to know how she is picking up, if she is maintaining proper body mechanism, we will wait for that for her to pick up, and we will see whether she is maintaining the proper body mechanism. If she is not, we will teach her how to do the body mechanisms, and we will provide educations regarding antenatal exercise and the antenatal exercise, ma'am.
Okay, fantastic. I apologize. I'm just seeing the chats. Okay, assisting the pregnant woman to take that paper. How will you assist? So when you say assistance, what is the assistance you will give the pregnant mother to take the paper?
Not to bend forward, ma'am.
Okay, so you're teaching how to sit down, how to spread your center of gravity, how to distribute your weight and all that. So you're going to teach them the manual handling mechanics. Okay. It's a natural instinct that you go and pick up the paper, but Oram says no. If the patient can do it for themselves, you have to let them do, because by you acting on your natural instinct, what happens is you're taking their self-esteem, their sense of achievability, the sense of capability away from them. Now this is a hard thing that I had to learn when I came into the community nursing. As I said, I work among people who are diagnosed with dementia. Now, with dementia, there are like different stages: early stage, moderate stage, and more advanced stage. Even in the more advanced stage, based on the type of dementia you get, there are certain cognitive functions that are still able by the patient. The patient, some patients will not know what a mug of coffee is. So you have to literally place it in front of them, put their hand in the mug and lift it to their mouth and drink. But however, if we did not follow the Orum's model, what we would be doing for the how to say, to make things faster and easier, we will pick up the cup, we will put a straw for a tea, and we will put it in patient mouth and force them to drink. or we'll take a spoon and start feeding them. Yeah. So what Aurum says is change your way of thinking. If your patient is able to do it, let them do it. I had this difficulty. I was working in a care home where an elderly lady was recently admitted, and all the care assistants, they started feeding her. Feeding is not a term that we should use anymore. It's called supporting her with nutritional needs. But for you to understand, they started literally feeding her. And you know, although like you eat food, some people will eat chili and some people will avoid chili. Some people will eat curry leaves and some people will avoid curry leaves. How will you know that whether this patient like it or not? You will not. So what I did, I gave her a fork in her hand, and I had a fork, and I put little food in her fork, and I had a fork of food in my hand as well, and took my fork towards her mouth. And every time she opened, I lifted her hand. So I brought the hand mouth coordination. So to that extreme. Did you understand what I'm trying to say? You don't find ways to thank you. You don't find ways to support your patient to make things easier and easier for them, but you have to be recovery based. You have to be patient centered. So you have to give that power, empower your patients back. So you have to do everything to provide that self-care to the patient. However, if your patient is having issues with emptying their bladder, you cannot ask them to go and put their own catheter. Now that's where the self-care deficit comes, where they are not able to do it, even to the extreme of you have provided all the support to self-care themselves, yet they are not able to. Like, for example, vaccine. You cannot give the vaccine to the patient hand and say, oh, it's fine, you will know, I'll teach you how to do it. Come on, go ahead. No. So when there is a deficit, then you jump in and you just fill the deficit. You don't take over the patient care, you just fill the deficit. So what I'll do initially, I will start changing their catheter for the first 3 months, and then eventually teach them how to do intermittent self-catheterization in the community. Do you understand? That's where the self-deficit comes from. Now the nursing system is now patient who's totally, you know that there's no more possibility that I can treat them in the community. They need to go to the hospital. So you're taking them, there is no more self-care for them. There is no more, the patient who's attached to the ventilator in the ICU, there is no self-care, there is no filling the gap, but they are completely in the hands of the nurses. So she says, you need to know. Now, what does this say about you as a community nurse?
We also tend to promote their promote their daily living by encouraging them to do by themselves.
Fantastic. But more than that, what Aurum is encouraging you to do is to make clinical decision. She's asking you to go and don't jump into your care. Instead, sit back. That's where the nursing assessment come into. Okay, she's asking you to make that clinical decision. Now as a community nurse, you don't have doctors to make the decision. You don't have senior nurses or anybody. It is you who will make the clinical decision. Every day is a decision making day for you. So you have to be sound in making those clinical decisions. You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is anyone keeping track of the time? I'm in UK time, so it's hard for me to know that.
Ma'am, it's 3 o'clock, ma'am.
Oh my God, I have well over my time. Apologies. Purnima, should I continue or should I give?
Yes, ma'am, you can continue, ma'am.
Is that all right? I'll only take next 15 minutes. Is that all right? Because I'm just
sure,
coming.
ma'am. Yes,
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So we'll quickly jump into the approaches. Now, I'm not going to, because I gave loads of examples, it took time. We'll jump directly into approaches. Now, the three main approaches in community health nursing is epidemiological approach. Epidemiological is nothing but scientific approach. You start asking questions, research-based approach. You question everything like why this is happening in my community. Who are all affected by this? Where did it start from? When exactly did it start? And what is the effect? What is the length of, what is the effect that it has on the community? Basically, what happened is like with the COVID, there was a recent study who started studying the water waste. You know, we are giving mask to the people, we are giving gloves to the people. What about the excreta that we flush out in the toilet? It will still have the COVID viruses, right? So now, as a public health nurse, they started taking this epidemiological approach. What they did, they started sampling the water waste, and then they took the virus saturation. Then they, what they did is like with the virus saturation, they qualified whether this virus, will it spread the disease or not, or will it have a major effect on the population? Do we have to treat all the water plants? You know, so basically it is one nurse who questioned what will happen to the people who are basically going to the toilet. So that's the epidemiological approach. You go into your community. I have put the link for that paper. So the more detailed study of this, the more detailed, you know, the research is there in that link. Please go ahead and read. So epidemiological approaches, today you're going into the community and you see like 4 houses that you have went, everybody are having a typical type of rash. Then immediately you start asking everyone the same question. You collect same information and you ask like how many people, what kind of job you're doing, are they all working in the same place, are they all same age group, are they all from same category, are they all men, are they all women? So when you ask all this information, collect, and then you say men over 45 years who are drinking so much, are with the dehydration and increased heat, are presenting with cirrhosis of liver and jaundiced skin discoloration. And then you come and say that, okay, now what can we do there? So that is epidemiological approach. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's clear,
So
ma'am.
next is problem solving approach. Problem solving approach, you already nailed it. That's why I put here as you've nailed it. What we do every day in, day out as a nurse is a problem solving approach. Like I said, we have moved from medical model where the doctor say, okay, nurse, give him this, give him that. And what happened when I was working in the PIMS special ward, an 80-year-old lady was given a kneecap surgery, and she was brought back from the post-operative ward to the special ward. Now in the night she was having pain. She was terribly screaming and she was knocked off in the pain. But the doctor, I think he was a house surgeon who was on duty, asked me to give Zoficlone. Zoficlone is like a sedative. He asked me to give Zoficlone, but I did not do that. What I did was like why she was in pain. I started examining, assessing why she was in pain. Then I realized when I looked into the fluid intake output chart, I noticed that she hardly made 100 ml out. So when I did the bladder tapping, you know how you palpate your bladder. So I did the bladder tapping and realized that her bladder was distended. Now, if the bladder is distended, the inferior vena cava that is behind the bladder will obstruct, will be blocked, and the blood supply to the heart will be blocked, and that will cause cardiac distress. So she's basically going for a cardiac distress. So immediately what I did, informing the shift in charge, I put the catheter, and she drained 1,000 liter of urine. Suppose I followed the medical model and gave her the zoficlone, which is a sedative. Sedative works on your medulla oblongata and respiratory centers. What will happen? Already her heart is going for a distress. I would have suppressed her respiratory center and I would have put her through the
we might have been lost the patient, ma'am. The further struggles will be occurring in her body.
I would have immediately killed the patient, wouldn't I?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
She
We
would
might have lost
hypoxia.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is problem solving. I'm not saying I did that, but thank God that that's where your college comes into place. They teach you the approaches might be dry. Today you might have come and thought, oh, community health nursing approach, ayyo appa evlo boring, but in reality this is what makes you think. Okay, so we have moved as nurses, we have moved away from medical model and we have started problem solving, and that is how that's what you do every day between assessment to the evaluation. You evaluate, then you assess back and you change. You evaluate, which is what we call as risk assessment. We as a community nurses have to be up to date with the risk assessment of our patient. I have to mention these are the risks for my patient and this is how I have made a safety plan for my patient, and I have to keep the safety plan up to date. Anytime a patient dies and the family wants access to their medical profile and come back, they will see I have had a robust plan already made that protects you as well ethically. So that's problem solving approach. Now, the last one is evidence-based approach. I don't have to say much about evidence-based approach. As you know, evidence-based is nothing but what is the evidence? What is there? You don't just follow. You just don't. One of the patient who was in a medical ward when I was a student in PSG, he didn't have any major issues except he was not tolerating solid foods and he was vomiting all the time. So he had an NG tube feed. So as I was giving him the NG feed, the patient went on an, I don't know, seizure, or he went on a shock. Now the thing is, you do not put NG tube with the patient with esophageal obstructions. There is no point. What will happen? There will be regurgitation and there is a higher chances of the food going into the windpipe, the trachea and bronchi and lungs and all that. But because nobody looked into the evidence, he was simple act of NG tube feeding killed the patient. Okay, but the problem is not all nurses want to be evidence-based. I have given statement based on a research. I have attached the research details to you, and the nurses say I prefer more traditional methods instead of changing my new approaches. Now, what is the danger of following traditional method? Traditionally, urinary catheters were sterilized, re-sterilized, and inserted to the patient. Now, what if I am adamant that I'll only follow traditional method? What will happen?
It will we'll have another septicemia. In septicemia, we can
exactly see a simple act of a nurse. Why you have to be evidence-based? Fantastic, you're all on the ball. I don't have to go in details, but there are like 12 outdated nursing practices just for your own knowledge, things that we don't do anymore. I was taken for an investigation by my manager because she noticed a small piece of cloth, what we call it as a Kylie sheet. In India, you know, when you make post-operative bed, do you put a small cloth to turn the patient? Or a square cloth, a small square cloth on top of the beds to, you know, use, instead of holding the patient to turn them, you use the cloth to turn them.
Yes, ma'am. We'll shift by making a square piece of bed sheet, normal what we use on our bed, and then we'll make the patient to turn whether laterally or sides in order to prevent direct pressure on the patient.
Exactly. Now that seems to be very scientific, isn't it? That seems to be really founded. But what happened is, like, here we were using in care home something called Kylie sheet, similar to the same idea. Instead of turning the patient, we use this Kylie sheet. But these Kylie sheets are condemned because they were causing more pressure source for the patient. What happened? Because they lay just directly under the patient, they caused more friction. And if the patient was soiled, what happened? They were soaked in that for ages, isn't it? That caused more infection. What happened, it's not easy. When I came to this country, it wasn't easy. I was a senior carer, and under me there were other carers who didn't like me. So luckily, I did not put Kylie sheet for the patient, but they put the sheet on the patient and complained that I did. And simple act of that took me into a very big investigation. Fortunately, I was able to prove that I didn't do it, because it's a two-man's job. You never turn the patient on your own. It's the worst practice. You always have to turn the patient. It's a two-man's job. Okay, you receive a patient and you also give a patient, so it's a two-man's job. Where it is necessary, you have to go by the care plan. So I had to prove that there was another nurse always present during the maneuver, and I did not do anything against the policy. So a simple matter of having a Kylie sheet can take you to stripping your registration away from you. So evidence base is more important. And what does that say to you? How will you know that these are outdated unless you learn yourself, you keep yourself informed? Many of the nurses think, if I come out of the university, that's it, I'm fully qualified. You're qualified to do the skills, but you're never, ever qualified to approach the day-to-day need of the patient. For that, you have to keep yourself always up to date. Okay. So this is my last slide. As you know, I have given you examples where I have become a leader at times and taking that approach of, no, I'm not going to give the medicine to the patient. Instead, I will put the catheter. I've been a collaborator. Like I said, where children were involved, I've contacted the child service, the social service. I've been a manager on my own. When I was in the patient home, I managed myself, my time, my communication with the patient. I was patient advocate. I was an educator. So as a community nurse, every day you will take all these roles in a different level, at a different intensity. You will always take all these roles. Now, like I said, Aurum, always with the Aurum's theory, you empower your patient. You give them the decision making in your hands. We have to, as a community nurse, we have to share our care plan to the patient. We have to ask their agreement. Like India Lamari, like you don't, like doctor will come and say, from today change, don't give them solid full, from today onwards, like okay, do this, do that. Instead, we discuss with the patient and allow patient to make that decision. And I said it's a multi-sectorial approach. As a community nurse, you will be excited to know you work alone as well as you work with people. You are a single entity, but you are among a multitude of other resources that's needed. You need to bring in physiotherapist, you need to bring the occupational therapist, you need to bring the police, you need to bring social work, you need to bring whatever way you can help your patient with. Would you believe that because this 1 year COVID period happened, I approached Alzheimer's Scotland. I bought 3 iPads for my patient. So you can expand your role as much as you want. The limit is in your hands. Now, home visits, the one policy that we follow now is called lone working policy, which I was very interested to speak to you. I've already spoke to you about how you need to be up to date with the national standards and policies, so you know that You need to know in India, what are the educational policies that's there that I can support my patient's family with? What are the health-based, what is the social-based policies that's there, standards there? What are the voluntary agencies that is available to support my patient? You need to know. I always print out a list, whichever area I'm working, I print out the list of all the community resources and have it in my community diary. So when I go to my patient, I will know exactly which one to contact. Sometimes I contact them for the patient. Now, home visit, there are two things that you have to be, you know everything about, you have done home visit. Two things you have to be careful as a community nurse. One is lone working policy. We always come to the office base, register ourselves, we update our calendar, we tell our team where we are going. We never go without informing our team. Our calendars are electronic, so everybody will know whose house I am in at this moment. And my work finishes at 5 p.m. every day. By 4:30, all the nurses are expected to be back in the base. Anything later than that, you have to directly call the team leader and explain why you are not back in the place. There will be so many things, because you're alone, anything could happen to you while in the community. Like you don't know who you're it is better to work in the hospital because you know who are walking through the door, you know their diagnosis. But when you go in the community, you know that you don't know their past history until you speak to them. You don't know who's in their family. There might be a gangster, there might be a drug addict, there might be anybody. So lone working policy is very, very, very important. Next is risk assessment. You never go to a patient who you feel riskful alone. You always go with another person. Sometimes I have gone to patients, patient visit where my patient is very, very psychotic. They think that people are going to kill them. I have informed the local police, and I've brought the police with me, and I have done the visit. So risk assessment is always important, and I've given a link that describes the theories and principles of home visiting. Not all of them will be pertaining to Indian environment, but most of the principles are good if you follow it. So they will see you as a professional. When you go to community, you tend to speak about your family. You tend to speak about like things that's happening. If you come from a farming background, if you are going to a farmer's house, you tend to speak about their plant, which is all good. Nursing humor is good. Giving away a part of you is okay to open up the therapeutic nurse-patient relationship, but you should know where the boundary is, and where you should know where you should always have that clear definition of what you're doing, a clear agenda of what you have to do. Okay, so that's me. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions that you need to ask me, if you want to ask anything.
Ma'am, about forensic nursing, you have already mentioned that. And can we get
Ma'am,
more ideas?
how to join in forensic nursing, ma'am? How to approach it, ma'am?
Okay. Forensic nursing, I didn't approach. Like I did Masters of Nursing here because my placement was mostly in addictions and forensic. It's called prison nursing. Okay, you go. I don't know in India what it is called. I think basically they are called prison nursing. It's the prison nursing is you can go into prison as an addiction nurse, you can go into prison as a mental health nurse, or you can go into prison as a primary nurse. So basically after your registration, you can apply for prison nursing and just take up the role. It's similar. Whatever you will do in the community, you will do exactly the same thing, but with forensic nursing. Remember I told about relative risk. When you walk forward, you always keep your eyes backward. You will have to, no matter how you engage with your patient, you must have an understanding that they are volatile. They are although you're patient oriented, empathetic nurse, you should be all that. You should give a non-judgmental care, But even at that, you should be risk aware. That's prison nursing.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody asked, how did you become community psychiatric nurse in UK, ma'am? Like, what are all the exams? Basically, if you have to, from India, become a community nurse, a psychiatric nurse, you just register through NMC. There is an overseas application, and within the overseas application, because we are RN and RMs, you can take any route. You can take an adult nursing route or a mental health route, and once you apply, initially they will put you in the hospital, and after you get your visa and all that, after you have founded yourself in the practice, then you can look into the jobs and apply. There is no specific exams for that.
Ma'am, working here is comfortable, or working like community health nurse in India is comfortable, or community health nurse as in UK is comfortable? What do you think?
Community health nurse in India, I'll get vada, I'll get idli. Community health nurse in UK, I'm getting pancakes. So I always loved community nursing in India. What I'm trying to say is, both has its own advantage and disadvantage. Because the very difficulty that I have all the time is, you know how every part has their own slang. Even Coimbatore Tamil is totally different from Chennai Tamil. And if you don't pick up the words, I'm always conscious. I have to be over attentive to the patients. Initially, somebody said, could you please bring my ginger from the fridge? I stood there standing in front of the fridge looking for the vegetable ginger. Basically, in Scotland, ginger means a drink, like Coca-Cola or Iron Brew. So you know, there are certain drawbacks, like certain obstacles that I had to face initially as a community nurse in UK. Whereas in India, you know, you are in the same page as patients. You know exactly what they are saying. But however, in India, in UK, I can now, if I find my patient is threatened, I can use I have the power to appeal for my patient, and I have the power to say, no, this has to be done for my patient. I don't know how far that is applicable in India. You know, although you know this is what your patient needs, sometimes your hands are tied, you're limited. So that's the difference between Indian and. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
No problem. Anybody wants to know anything? Like I said, as a fourth year student, your nursing education, nursing management is a very dry subject, but very important, because none of the subjects here ever prepared me for what I'm doing. Like, see, the ability to talk to you, to speak to you, that was because I you know how you take classes for the first year, second year students. That's the reason why I'm able to do this. So use everything that you get during your 4 years.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much.
All the best. All the best. All the
Thank
students.
you, ma'am.
Thank you, dear ma'am. Here we have our student Sweetlyn to give a small feedback about the session, ma'am.
Oh, thank you.
A very good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, who are present here. It gives me a very pleasure to give a vote of thanks for this event. First of all, I would thank Mrs. Vinodini Murugavel, ma'am. Ma'am, it is a really very useful section for us, ma'am. It gives us a deep insight about the topic. Not only it is an informative section, it is really a very interactive section, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for spending a very valuable time for us. And I would like to thank Dr. A. Jayasudha, Principal of PSG College of Nursing, to arrange this webinar for us. And also I thank Mrs. Purnima Mary, ma'am, Associated Professor, Department of Community Health Nursing, to coordinate this webinar. last but not least, I would thank all the students who all are participate in this webinar. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Happy Easter, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you all. Enjoy your Saturday. Thank you for coming on a Saturday for me. And what I will do is I'll share my number and email address to your ma'am Purnima. And if anybody, you feel like talking to me, you need any support, any guidance, I'm more than happy to do. Leave a message and I will certainly do what I can. Thank you, Purnima. And I should really, apart from Jayasudha ma'am for bringing alumni and recognizing us, I should thank you, Purnima, because as you have been very, 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 very interactive, understandable. It was last night, must be the middle of the night, I sent the slides to her, and yet she was like, happy to receive it from me. As a ma'am, as a teacher, the burden that you have for the student is greater. And that will take your students for longer. Would you believe that it was one of the lecturers from my period, Nirmala ma'am, called, sent me her wishes for this webinar that I'm doing today. So one day you will all be in my position, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. And leaving the
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.